Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
No, really.
Disastrous for a president
To even say
be
he's unaware.
unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very
Backfired.
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You're watching The Advocate on Plus TV Africa. Honesty is the best policy, especially when it comes to speaking the truth to yourself. Apparently, 70% of us suffer from imposter syndrome at some point in our lives, according to a review article published in the International Journal of Behavioral Science. Imposter what? I hear you ask. That feeling that you don't deserve or qualify for your successes in life. Essentially, that you're a fraud. I came across this condition whilst watching men's tennis, the Wimbledon finals, believe it or not. My older sister remarked that whereas the men played like they deserved to be on the big stage, the women seemed almost to apologize for being there. Attitude makes all the difference. Although research has since sought to reverse the view that women are more likely to suffer from imposter syndrome, I maintain, as a woman, that this is our Achilles heel. It is as a result of the fact that though much has changed and is changing, women are largely still socialized into feeling like second-class citizens. One of my colleagues recently even suggested that there is a biblical basis for asserting that women were an afterthought, balderdash. The truth is, it is as unscriptural a thought as they come. Anyway, as I listened with engrossed interest as my sister expounded on how this syndrome was a product of a person internalizing their failures and externalizing their successes. In other words, if they do well, it is due to their circumstances or due to circumstances outside themselves, luck, a supportive spouse, serendipity. Whereas when they fail, it is always down to them. It is always because they're not enough in one shape or form. In a nutshell, they are suffocatingly hard on themselves. I listened, and the kobo dropped. I have suffered from imposter syndrome. Wow. Forgive me if I seem excited, but this is only because acknowledging the challenge puts us squarely on the path to taking ownership of our life, our successes, our weaknesses, and everything in between. So, as we boldly embark on this uncharted terrain, I encourage every one of us to take a long, unabashed, accepting look in the mirror. We need to learn to like and even love what we see without seeking to instantly modify it. Our beauty lies in our uniqueness. Think of all the years of suppressed self-expression and give it voice today. Say to yourself, I am the real deal. Now, doesn't that make you feel good?
Of course, absolutely.
I don't know, I started to understand what you were saying about imposter syndrome in a different way. Because what I thought it was quite simply was, basically just not being who you really are in order to benefit. So, for instance, I could have joked to myself that, maybe I'm suffering from imposter syndrome right now. They set some stage in your life, right? So it wasn't every day, but right now. Yeah. Because I look back and I think to myself, I am a shy person. Very, very, very shy.
Who would know
to the point where teachers would make comments in my report about absolute quietness in class. Okay. And it happened even when I was doing my A-levels. And there will obviously be different reasons that make you get quiet. A-levels are shipped off to England. That's another cause for quietness, because now you're making me face a class of white people. And I was already shy in Nigeria, so I would just be quiet there. And it would take me a while to whatever. But one day I just thought to myself, why am I even shy? It's not going to benefit me anything now. It won't help me with women. It won't help me with anything.
Which is essential.
Which is very essential, you know. So I decided that I'm not going to be shy again. So I started to become an imposter. And
okay, you inhabit a different personality.
Oh yes, and I'm now.
You reinvented yourself.
So don't worry, I've reinvented myself.
You're an actor.
So I thought that was imposter syndrome.
So imposter syndrome is something I've been aware of for years.
Okay.
I don't think I suffer from it, by the way, and I think I'm going to deal with it from 2 points. So the first point is it's often very common amongst creatives. And number one. Number two is it's a case of thinking, I do not deserve this success.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's about, which is why I said you are not an imposter, because you are an excellent architect who deserves all the success you've had, and we know they should pay you more than 2,000.
No, but whether he believes, does he believe it?
And this is the thing. Clearly it does.
Thought it meant something else.
No, but that's what it means. So that's number one. Number two is, and why don't I suffer from it? And I'll tell you why a lot of women do suffer from it.
Okay, you agree that
I'll remind you. Oh yes, it's common with women, but it's common with creatives across the board. Okay. Right? I'll remind you of something that happened with you and I. You once came into makeup, and I think I was dressed in one of my usual African flamboyant way, not dissimilar to that, and I had this hair or whatever, and you said, oh, you know, you paid me a compliment, and I said, yes, I am, thank you. And you're like, oh.
Was I?
Now, yes. Now what happens is, you are expected to play down your strength, you are expected to play down your successes, you are not expected, and my sister, I remember my sister always says to me, she said, you know, when she gives speech around, people are like, Bibi, you're fabulous. She's like, I know, it's wonderful, isn't it? Eriti, don't be afraid to say that. And I think that is it. Now, that's the one example. The other example why it's so common with women is part of the conditioning that I keep trying to teach you guys about how genderizing is actually debilitating us, right? Now, think about it. A woman does something for her man, buys him a car, pays for the house to be built. Do you hear her saying, oh, I did this for him? I know. But if he does something for her, right? If he's the one that bought her a car, if he's the one, if they put money together to build the house, what are everybody going to say? Seidu has built a house, Chuka has built a house. They're not going to know. And she's going to be quiet. This is my point. She's going to be quiet and not say, hang on a minute, you and I shared that money together.
It's a mindset that you have. It's shifting. We're having...
It's not a mindset. How many of your friends come and tell you, come on, how many of your friends where the wife and the husband, right, have put money together, and what I'm saying is, how many of your friends would they come and say to you, my wife and I are the ones that put money together? It's not a mindset. It is a fact. It exists.
It's changing.
It's true.
It's changing. And I'll tell you why. See, the reason why a man will not say something like that is because of pride, right? By default, the man is supposed to care for the family.
There we go. The whole.
I'm just saying. Yes. So it's a thing of pride to say, oh, I'm taking charge of my family. I can provide for my family. You don't go telling people that, oh, sorry, I can't take care of my family. It's my wife that is supporting. While there's nothing wrong with it, you don't want to.
I'm not saying she supported. She contributed.
Advertise or share that.
Contribution is
it's played down.
Shame.
Yeah.
I think I want to take it back to what we're talking about earlier, raising families. Now, I have boys. I don't have any girl. I'm raising them to understand what you just said. Yeah. So you need to understand that it is okay. You're allowed to be emotional. You're allowed to cry. Yes. Don't give that because you're a man.
Don't franchise it out.
Yeah, because so that was part of the point I was trying to make. When egos start to play out, it destroys a lot of things that would have easily been resolved. And it's not about women, because women in the African climb are the women that do not, like, if you tell me I'm beautiful, I'll tell you, yeah, I know. Thank you very much. You know? But some people, oh, are you sure? Are you serious? You need to start building people that are confident of themselves, that understand self-love, the concept of self-love. And men, being a man does not, your role as a man does not mean that you must be the provider.
I know we've looked at it from the female male, but I would just quickly drop in there before we move on that it actually can exhibit itself. Even amongst the young in Nigeria, you find that they're almost like, they feel like imposters, I think, because society hasn't given them the ability to own their
but
space.
But it's okay as a young person, you're still finding your space.
Yeah, but I know, like now, you don't have enough young people in leadership because they may have that imposter syndrome working itself out because you have the older generation who are still blocking. They're not giving them a chance to feel that they're deserving to go and lead Nigeria forward.
But they still need to cross over and fall down and get up.
But anyway, still in the mode of reflection, let's take some of your comments from our social media platforms. Still in the mode of reflection, let's take some of your comments from our social media platforms. Aishaiku Christian says, thank you for producing this show. Please keep saying it. This show makes me have hope in the new Nigeria to come. Thank you, Christian. We'll keep advocating for a better society. Concerning inferiority complex, Tony Toreba says, the fact is that we have very creative, brilliant Nigerians inside and outside the country. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, they suffer from lack of support. How will they build their portfolio when the rich don't believe in them? As you say, it is inferiority complex. Many rich people just don't believe in Nigerians as they should. It's a shame because even before colonial times, our people did not lack creativity or ingenuity. It has taken decades for Nigerian musicians to be fully respected in their country. Perhaps in a while, other creatives will get their due. Thank you for that. On the matter of the gap between the rich and the poor, Ada Odigbo Brown says, saw your brief post on education. I'll tell you my take. Deliberate or not, I don't know, but I think there's really one central issue, our examination bodies, JAMB, WAEC, NECO. A few years ago, this time in a state-owned school, they were asked to contribute money on the day of mathematics so the invigilator could let them cheat. My ward and a few others refused. They were taken out into another room where they did their exam, but their papers were also collected prematurely once the cheating group were finished. It's just so sad. So sad, Ada. It's really, yeah. Do keep your comments coming in on our social media platforms, on Facebook, Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG, or on Twitter and Instagram at Plus TV Africa, #TheAdvocateNG. And remember to catch up with the previous broadcasts, go to www.plustvafrica.com/theadvocate. So time to go on a brief break, and when we return, Chuka looks set to sing us some reggae blues. You see me?